Very much, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Senator Perdue for switching positions with me here. Mr. Blinken, just reviewing UN Security Council resolutions, the goal of, or certainly a requirement of UN Resolution 1696 was to ask or call for Iran to suspend enrichment of uranium. 1737, same requirement, suspend enrichment. 1747 stated that the nuclear program must be verified as only peaceful, and I'll come back to that. Resolution 1803, Iran must halt its enrichment. 1835 basically reaffirmed the previous four UN resolutions. Then 1929 again calls for the halt of enrichment by Iran. Who or at what point in time did we abandon that requirement?
Senator, thank you. I think what we know is, and what we've seen, is that Iran has mastered the fuel cycle. We can't eliminate that knowledge. Nothing we do can do that. We could not sanction away that knowledge. We can't bomb it away. They've mastered it. So in our judgment, what is critical to our security and that of our partners is to establish a comprehensive solution that gives us the confidence, because of the extraordinarily stringent restrictions on that program, as well as the exceptional access that inspectors would have, that as a practical matter, they cannot produce the fissile material to make a bomb. That is the way to get at the concerns that motivated the UN Security Council.
Again, it's a pretty simple question. When did we abandon the goal of not allowing them to enrich uranium?
In the course of the negotiations with them, I think it became clear, not only to us, but also to all of our partners, that Iran was not going to give up as a practical matter some very limited forms of enrichment in the event of an agreement.
So that was,
again, that knowledge can't be...
The JPOA, basically, we abandoned that, correct?
In the course of the negotiations, and the JPOA foresees a final resolution that includes an extremely limited and constrained enrichment capacity.
Mr. Cohen, in your testimony, you said there's no higher priority than to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. And you said the goal of the negotiation was to, and I believe this is your quote, guarantee that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. As long as they're enriching uranium, how can you possibly guarantee that they will not obtain a nuclear weapon?
Senator, the intention, and I think it's consistent with what Secretary Blinken has said, is to ensure if there is a deal to be had here, that the timeline for breakout is such that we would be in a position to respond, so that if Iran does not adhere to its commitments under an agreement, we'll be able to take action to ensure that they do not obtain a nuclear weapon.
That would be military action then. So in other words, give ourselves enough time to conduct military action so they cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. Is that basically the administration's policy?
I think there are a variety of steps that could be taken upon the detection that Iran was not adhering to its commitments.
We've had testimony before this committee how incredibly expensive it is to enrich uranium, and also that if you have a peaceful nuclear program, there's absolutely no reason to enrich uranium because you can obtain it readily in the open market. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
With that in mind, Mr. Blinken, you said earlier that you can't imagine any other country would subject themselves to the isolation, the sanctions, the harm to its economy that Iran is subjecting itself to. So let me just ask a simple question. Why is Iran subjecting itself to the isolation, the sanctions, and the harm to the economy if it were not other than to obtain a nuclear weapon?
Senator, I think it's an excellent question. I think what we believe is that they clearly had military aspirations for their program, and indeed, at least until 2003, were pursuing weaponization activities. One can certainly ask why a country that is so rich in oil resources would need an expansive nuclear program, even a civil nuclear program. Those are all extremely good questions. Here's what they say, and I'm not saying that I agree with any of this. They say that they want to devote more of their oil resources to exports and remain energy self-sufficient, hence a nuclear power program. They say they want
again, which they could obtain the material on the open market.
That's exactly right.
So,
and that's why.
So again, isn't the answer obvious that they can make this pain go away tomorrow? They could end the isolations, they could end the sanctions, they could improve their economy by just suspending, ending, halting their nuclear enrichment program, but they're not doing that.
Absolutely, and that's something that we've pointed out to them repeatedly.
So how do we ever have a successful negotiation? How do we ever get a good deal with a regime that is behaving this way?
So I think a few things have happened, and again, this is the subject of a lot of analysis and assessments, and also this is something we can discuss in a different setting. And I'm not vouching in any way, shape, or form for the Iranians or what they believe or what their needs are, but I do think that what's developed over time is a sense of national pride about the program, a huge investment, ironically, made in the program, and a desire to sustain some pieces of it. From our perspective, what's critical to our security and that of our partners is that if they are going to have a nuclear power program of any kind, it is so constrained, so limited, so inspected that it cannot, as a practical matter, be used to produce material for a nuclear weapon, and it would give us plenty of time to do something about it if they did.
One final question. Why does the President of the United States believe he is the sole person, the only representative of the United States that can actually decide whether or not the deal with Iran is a good deal or a bad deal for our entire nation? Why does the President believe he's the only person that should have that authority, does not believe that this is really more like a treaty that would require ratification by Congress?
Senator, I don't think that, that he believes that or that we believe that. Indeed, as we've discussed earlier, one of the most powerful levers we have to make sure that Iran makes good on any commitments it makes under an accord, if one is reached, is precisely the ability of Congress at the after Iran has made good on its commitments to actually end big pieces of the sanctions regime that Congress has put in place. That's a tremendous power. Congress has to be fully part and parcel of doing this, just as Congress was critical to establishing the sanctions regime, just as we seek these consultations going forward on the details. At the end of this, the role is absolutely critical. So, in effect, you will have a very strong vote, and I think the Iranians are very well aware of it. That's why we want to keep ending the ending part of the sanctions as opposed to suspending to the far end of the process to hold Iran to whatever commitments it makes.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Cohen.